standardized, it can be used by common citizens. So thank you. Who else wanted to say something? Sige po, si Sir Franz, and then si Mark, Attorney Mark, and lastly si Attorney Eugene. Sige
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just a quick comment. So we fully support the bill. The OSC fully supports the bill. From the technological point of view, we welcome this as a positive development, specifically for local researchers and local startups. So nabanggit na po ni Attorney Third, diba, they were supported by the OSC. They were startups. So it's very good to hear na yung mga local initiatives natin na-recognize, and they have now this bigger avenue to have their locally developed solutions be absorbed by the government. So yun lang po, this is a very positive development. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Attorney Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, so we appear today on behalf of the board and members of the Blockchain Council of the Philippines. So we'd like to think we represent most of the Web3 and blockchain community and licensed blockchain and crypto players. So, Mr. Chair, we'd like to share with you, of course, that we fully support this. We really think that what makes Senate Bill 1330 historic is its ambition, no, Mr. Chair. So of course, like we have a prepared statement we shared with you, but I'll just cut it short. Of course, with ambition, it must be tempered by practical design. That's why we're really pushing for a phased implementation, as we have been saying here repeatedly. It is also clear to define, we clearly define governance. We have been saying repeatedly earlier, immutability, right? So what's important there, Mr. Chair, is of course, of course, it prevents tampering, but you have to understand that the mistakes there, if sabi mo nga, garbage in, garbage forever. So you have to make sure that there is strong data governance, no, with respect to putting this into the blockchain. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that, Mr. Chair, blockchain is not new to the Philippines. The BSP is here. We can learn from the BSP. We're one of the few countries in the world that has the virtual currency exchange license or regulations since 2017, Mr. Chair. Our SEC, led by Attorney Paulo Ong, we have the crypto asset exchange license, CES. Of course, a license from the SEC. Our central bank also initially conducted studies pertaining to central bank digital currencies, no? So CBDC. So they have studied this technology already. So I think we can learn from that. Siguro just to close, Mr. Chair, on the legal side, I'm also kasi a lawyer, no? I think what we just have to look at is, let's say, the enforceability, sige, medyo technical na ng konti, of smart contracts, di ba? Yan yung sa likod ng blockchain eh. So, you have to you've been asking, Mr. Chair, do we need more laws? I think, of course, this one would really instill, no, putting the budget in the blockchain. But we already have the basic laws, Mr. Chair. Digital contracts are already covered, and digital signatures under the E-Commerce Act. So putting the budget in the blockchain covered yan. Per problema na what we need to study further is enforceability of smart contracts in court, in accounting standards, and the like. So that's, I think, in the technical working group, we need to study that further.
Thank you, Attorney Mark. Maraming salamat. Sige, since we're going right to left, Attorney Aran and then Attorney Eugene.
Thank you po, Mr. Chair, for being recognized. What we'd like to say is that we are in full support of SB 1330. Ang pinaka-importanting factor dito is that pag naging successful po ito, pag naging successful po ito po ang magiging pinakaunang legal definition po ng blockchain. Because in my humble capacity as an academic, because I also teach lawyers sa MCLE at UP Law Center. And I teach Lawyer's Guide to Blockchains and Smart Contracts. What I always emphasize doon po sa mga lectures ko is that for now, wala pang legal definition. So, in a way, maaari po siyang maging stumbling block. But through this SB 1330, that will be the first stepping stone how blockchain will be legally defined. Because ang pinaka-importante din po, since we have to conform with the principle of technology neutrality, through SB 1330, we will be defining blockchain as a generic technology. Then, on the succeeding mga legislation, we can define it further in a use case specific po. So, this will be the very first step po sa pag-implement po ng blockchain in our legal system. So, in relation naman po since for the people din, we have to understand po the concept between law and technology. Since nung panahon pa ng unang nabubuhay mga ancestor natin, itong dalawang konseptong ito, lagi po ito nag-uunahan. Lahat naman po tayo siguro nag-aral ng history. You will always notice sa sa ancient history, hindi po basta-basta nako-codified yung mga, even yung the most basic technologies. Bakit po? Kasi itong dalawang konsepto na ito, nag-uunahan po ito. So, in relation sa SB 1330, we can strike a balance between the two. Kasi ang philosophy po dito is that we cannot put a Tesla engine in a 1900 Ford Model A vehicle. Ang ibig sabihin ko po nun, the Tesla engine is the technology, and the Model A, figure of speech, is yung mga legal frameworks po natin. We just have to reinforce. Mayroon na po tayo. We just have to reinforce our laws. Yun din po, Mr.
Thank you, Attorney. And we will appreciate the support of PAFLA, no? When we craft the law. Yung mga definitions po mahalaga, but I will repeat kasi we missed this. We were so excited with the blockchain, the budget bill, that di ho namin nakita that we were legislating the technology, no? And it's funny kasi in other bills, sinasabi ko lagi na mali yun, no? So, we also got some comments from netizens not to legislate technology. So we know that, and we will do our best to create some tech flexibility in terms of the technology, as well as pointing to the benefits of blockchain that we can see now that it has over other technologies that are currently in place. No? So, sige po, bilang panghuli, we'll have Attorney Teves. Attorney, sige, then we'll have Ken as one more final. Si Attorney Eugene po, hindi ko pa nakikita in 25 years ata. No? Kasama kami sa Student Council.
Yes.
Tama, di ba? In the 90s, right? No?
That's right.
That's right. Okay, Attorney, good to see you again.
Mr. Chair, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas lauds the good senator for championing the intent of SBN 1330 to strengthen transparency and control in public financial management. Now, BSP is here because our focus will be on payment finality, settlement integrity, and systemic risk. Therefore, as we continue to finalize the details of the bill, it is important to understand, will it cover disbursement? This is very much needed, no, to understand. Now, we've done some POCs, experimentation on the blockchain DLT technology. We're also looking at possibility of tokenizing deposits, not touching public funds, but rather setting smart contracts at the back of the deposits. No? So these things can be explored.
Initially, the idea was just for transparency. I'll be honest with you. So, similar to a ledger or a bulletin board was the initial idea. I don't know if BSP would want us to go all the way to disbursements. Are you prepared for a comment on this already at this point? Or
Not at this point.
not at this point. But I guess during the TWG, we can discuss it further. Or we can put it as a further phase. But in the first phase 1 or phase 2, I think we just need to push for transparency. So similar to the Full Disclosure Act and making sure that the records are immutable, doon muna tayo magsimula. And then we'll move towards disbursements, smart contracts, other aspects of the value chain, which may need more reforms in the agencies. Ang worry ko kasi, Attorney, is kung hihintayin natin yung mga reformang yun, baka hindi natin magawa yung una natin gustong gawin, which is to push for transparency. But of course, we will welcome BSP's suggestions, comments, and recommendations here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So let me have Ken, and then I'll give the last word to Secretary Henry. No? Sige po, Ken.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So kami po yung People's Budget Coalition. We're a group of more than 30 organizations pushing for a transparent, participative, and accountable budget process. With me, Tim Salomon of the Agri-Sector and Code NGO is here. And we wanted to manifest, Mr. Chair, that the tragic truth is we, the people, have lost trust in the integrity of the budget process. And allow us to share a few principles po that the bill should respond to try to restore this trust. Yung first principle po is something that was mentioned a while ago, is that a technical solution will not solve a political problem, which is the current quandary in the Philippine budget process. Tech is a tool, but it's very important to decide to be open, to be transparent, to be accountable. The second is to restore public trust in the budget process. Reforms must strengthen three key pillars. All three should be addressed. First is transparency, pagiging bukas, that improves people's participation in the process, pakikilahok, and ensures accountability or pananagutan. The pitfall of many tech reforms is that they stop at transparency. We hope that this bill goes further. And then third is that reforms must address abuses in every step of the budget cycle, from preparation to legislation and accountability. So we in the People's Budget Coalition would like to propose features of a system, and we hope that the bill is tech neutral, to restore people's trust in the budget process. And allow me to illustrate using the flood control situation. The first phase is the budget preparation stage. Executive agencies must open the technical budget hearings in the DBM to ensure that what goes inside the budget in the National Expenditure Program are truly based on science, nature-based solutions like reforestation and integrated water resource management, not just cement, which is the current paradigm of our flood control system. What is heartbreaking, Mr. Chair, is that as disaster response volunteers like us who experienced communities na lubog po sa baha for 1 to 2 weeks, did you know that more than 1.2 trillion flood control budgets from 2018 to 2025, if properly used, could have already funded the major river basin master plans nationwide, which would have cost only 700 to 800 billion pesos, which is according to former DPWH Secretary Babe Singson. Imagine a system where in the DPWH there is a multi-sectoral body of CSOs, hydrologists that can vet the submissions before they enter the net. Ordinary citizens and legislators can cross-check on a map or a satellite view whether proposed projects in the DPWH are part of the 18 major river basin master plans, and if they are not, tell already the President before it becomes proposed. Imagine a situation where people can say in the NEP and the legislative deliberations that this street was actually already paved and therefore should not be in the asset preservation program of the DPWH. What we need, Mr. Chair, is a publicly funded research program that supports these multi-sectoral bodies at the budget preparation stage before it enters the NEP. Half-ghost project ba to? No? Itong programa na to, masasagot na po yan kaagad kung may multi-sectoral body sa technical budget hearings pa lang. Yun po yung pakikilahok na kailangan. Pangalawa po sa budget legislation stage, Congress must end the abusive practice of secret congressional insertions, especially in the BICAM. What we really need is a truly open BICAM, supported by what we call an open budget transparency server that improves the quality of public participation. The tragedy with flood control is that they were inserted in secret at the last minute during the bicameral conference committee, whose proceedings are kept secret. So we really don't know who inserted what in the budget. And over just the past 3 years, 540 billion pesos net insertions in the DPWH were put without the proper studies or debate. Imagine a situation in a feature of this system, like an open budget transparency server, which can actually be already implemented today, Mr. Chair, if Congress decides to do so. Similar to how election results are reported during election day, mirrored by media and civil society observers. The server should show which programs, activities, and projects were added or deleted at each stage of the budget process. This is already technically feasible using current unified account code structures and the program expenditure classifications or the PREXI. We are ready to support such an open budget transparency server, Mr. Chair, because tama po kayo, napakahirap pong mag-analyze ng budget kasi iba-iba yung mga dokumento at napakahirap nitong gawin. The Congress must also open the BICAM discussions to members of civil society to live stream the proceedings. The current Senate resolution is a good start, but needs to include provisions on the open budget transparency server and also have enough time for people to actually review it. In the budget execution stage, there must be open contracting data standards, PhilJEP's open data, and fast-tracking the ultimate beneficial ownership registry, which are already discussed a while ago. And finally, in the budget accountability